Hi guys, and welcome to this week's reading vlog wherein we're going to sit down and lock in and binge the entire off-campus series essentially, because those are the OG books of book talk in terms of hockey romance. At this point, I'm the only one who hasn't read it, and it's getting adapted into a series that is coming out next week. So around the time this video comes out, a couple of days after that, which means it's finally my turn to sit down and read them so I can watch the show and get excited like the rest of the internet for them, which is why let's just jump right in. Those are our plans for this week, and I'm so excited. So now for context, if you've spent even 30 minutes scrolling on book talk and whatnot, these books essentially pop up under the OG book recommendations for like hockey, sports, romances and stuff, because these have been around for quite a while and they've been beloved by the internet for even longer at this point, to the point where I feel like everyone and their grandma has read it. If you're living under a rock like me, you probably haven't, but otherwise everyone's gotten to it. So there's quite like a hype and fan club built online, considering the fact that the series comes out next week. Everyone's just so excited to watch, and now I have been wanting to get into those books so I can join that little group online, see what everything is about, kind of compare the book and the adaptation once it releases. And in my opinion, it's always good to read the book before the adaptation, because some details usually always end up getting skipped out, and it's really fun to like compare the two, which is why, listen, this is my chance of going ahead and trying to binge the entire series, get through all of those in one sitting at this point in this week. And then once the adaptation comes out, even though it's only season 1 and season 1 only follows book 1 as far as I'm aware, I'll still be excited and ready with all the Easter eggs and crumbs for the rest of the series, if there's any foreshadowing, knowing everything I need to know about the rest of the couple pairings, and just getting ready and excited to read the books and meet basically the book boyfriends that the internet has been raving about for like since the beginning, I guess, of book talk at this point, which is why those are the books I'm reading in today's vlog, and hopefully getting to see all my favorite couples on screen, because again, that's just going to be the best feeling ever. So for now, I'm going to go ahead, start with The Deal, the first book in the series, jump right in and see you guys in a bit once I, have a progress update essentially. But again, so excited to get to these books because I have had them on my TBR for so long now, that at this point, along with the internet's sort of love for it and the fact that I've been wanting to read it for a while, my expectations are riding really high on the series, and I can't wait to see them fly through the roof once I actually do end up loving them, because that's the only option that's seemingly in my way forward, considering how amazing these already sound. I already know they're going to be great. They were in my 26 to read in 26, so let's just jump right in. It's going to be so fun now that I finally get around to them so many years later. See the books that finally like set the precedent for all the other sports romances to come, and how I feel about them personally, because I am kind of like a skeptic when it comes to like giving my opinions and stuff. So let's see how it pans out for me, and those are the plans essentially for this week's reading vlog. So let's just jump right in. I'll see you all once I have the first book done, and that's what we're doing today. Hi guys, and now it's update time, because it did take me definitely like a couple days to like go ahead and finish out the first book in the series, but at this point now I'm done with The Deal, which is the first book in the off-campus series. So it's first update for this video time, because now that I'm finally done, we can kind of speak about it. And as far as I'm aware, the first season of the show that's going to be coming out next week and whatnot is only adapted fully on the basis of the first book, which means I'm all caught up to be watching the show now, especially because I'm done reading the book, which means it's all going to be great here on out. I will continue the series still to kind of see how the rest of it pans out, so the next time the next season or whatever comes out over the years and whatnot, I'm all caught up and ready to watch all of it in a go. Right off the bat, I'll know all the Easter eggs and clues they're signaling on for the show, so that's like getting me excited and whatnot, get into the whole world, dive into the whole fandom. So I'm like ready to lock in and actually sit down and watch all of it once it starts coming out. Until then, this update specifically is to speak about the book only, because now that I'm done with it, I'm here to speak about it before I go ahead and continue the rest of the books, and probably go watch out the trailer for the stuff that's coming out next week. I'm trying to save the trailer for once I'm done with all the books, so in case there are spoilers for anything, I'm avoiding all of that completely. But now that I'm done with the book, for the most part, I know what the show will basically be about. For context, this one, if you haven't read it already, is like a book talk phenomenon at this point, so literally you're probably living under a rock like me. But if you have it, and if you want a quick premise, basically in this book we follow Hannah, and she's like a straight A student and whatnot. She's perfect in every regard. It's just something happens to her in her past. It's not her fault at all, but because of that, and it's like a huge intense like thing with gravity and whatnot, there's this like weight she carries around everywhere with her, especially going into new relationships. And she's the sort of person who finds it really hard to open up to people because of of that, and because of what happened, she's just not able to like past it and obviously conquer her demons, because there's quite a bit at this point, because it's not even her fault. You cannot blame her. It's just something that happened, and now, you know, she feels a bit stuck. Except something happens now, and suddenly she realizes that maybe she can get out of it, because there's this one new guy who joined their college a couple months ago. She's had like the biggest crush on him, and suddenly she thinks maybe she'll be able to finally get into a new relationship and open up with someone if she manages to get his attention. So his name is Justin, and if she manages to get him to like look at her and realize that maybe they'll be good together. Except he's like a football like team guy and whatnot, so he's very much a jock, and he like floats around with everyone. It's very hard to like catch his attention and like get him to like notice you and whatnot, so she needs to do something drastic. Now enter Garrett, who is basically the captain of the hockey team, and he realizes there's this one test he failed that's gonna cause his entire like GPA to like go crashing down, which is not good for him, because if his GPA goes worse than it already is and whatnot, especially like to a certain extent, because it's good at the moment, the test really just made him bad off and worse off and whatnot, and if he keeps failing in that specific subject, ethics, they're probably going to boot him off of the hockey team. And his father is actually a hockey legend, which means he has a lot of like expectations and pressure riding on his back, not just of his own to like play a sport he loves, but also because of his father and all of their fans and whatnot, who don't want him to like let them down by like getting booted off the team just because he didn't have the marks to show for, you know, continue playing. Which is why once he realizes that Hannah is taking the same class as him, and she is, you know, the straight-laced kid who got an A+ or something like that, the best marks in the class, he like gets on her back to basically tutor him so he can get the right grades this time and pass for his hockey team, so he gets to keep playing. Except she doesn't agree, to the point where once he realizes that now, you know, she's got a crush on that guy Justin, he figures out a different way to get him to help her with the tutoring. Now he's offered to kind of like fake date her so that Justin will now kind of get attracted to her because of her social standing increasing with Garrett, who is again higher up on the hierarchy chain, to the point where she's kind of going to be fake dating Garrett to kind of make Justin jealous, to the point where he notices her. She gets the guy of his dreams. Garrett gets the marks. It's all great for everyone, except once they start, you know, like kissing for the first time and stuff, he realizes there's some chemistry there. He realizes that it's not just like platonic feelings. He doesn't want her to succeed with Justin anymore because he wants her all for himself, and so now he has to figure out how to convince her that they would be good together. And overall, it's a good book. I feel like it's definitely for the fangirls. There were a couple of One Direction mentions. It definitely feels like it's, you know, written some time back, and it was, and so you can definitely tell like it's an older romance book, but for what it was, and definitely considering the fact that it definitely set like the precedent for like hockey romances to come, especially in the book talk sphere, I feel like this was a really good read to like get to. It was on my 26 and 26, so hopefully I was able to like check that off my list as well now that I'm done, because I don't regret having read it. There were definitely some great moments, some good scenes overall that now I have context to, especially after, you know, scrolling and seeing like a bunch of edits and stuff already of it. And so overall it was a good time. I feel like the banter, the quotes, everything else was great. It's just, if you're reading this, please consider looking up trigger warnings, because something heavier happens in this book that I did not expect at all. It comes with her past and stuff, and that makes you, you know, get like a certain gravity to things, kind of make the book more real, but at the same time it's not something that you'd want to like jump in without knowing about, which is why that's definitely one thing. And the second thing is their connection. I feel like personally it went a little too fast in the beginning before I started like building up on, you know, themselves and whatnot. But apart from that, yeah, I feel like the way they connected still in other spheres and whatnot was really fun to read about. I did have a good time, and now I know what everyone's so obsessed with when it comes to these books, especially Garrett Graham, because there were again a bunch of great scenes overall. The storyline, it wasn't the best romance book I've ever read, but I definitely do understand that if this was one of the first ones you would ever read, especially because this is one of the most popular ones in the book talk era, and if you're getting into book talk, this is something you gravitate towards at the beginning, it can definitely turn out to be one of the best ones you've read. But just because I've read, you know, stuff that's better than this, I think I'm going to give this like maybe 3.5 stars overall. It wasn't bad, it's just it wasn't my favorite, but it was a good way to spend the time regardless. And again, need to get into more sports romances, because this just truly reignited my love for them again, which means here we are now. I can't wait to jump into the next one, because the character, the guy for the next one has already been introduced in this, and I'm so happy and excited to get to his book, because the way it's been set up, it's Logan, by the way, and I'm so excited to read it again, because just the way she's done it, can't wait to see where that goes. Because the only other Elle Kennedy book I've read before, I don't remember the name, I think it was called like Girl Abroad. I really didn't enjoy that, so this was like a pleasant surprise going in from someone who didn't expect a lot. But yeah, here we are. This was still like a good like popcorn sort of romance if you want to read to like pass the time and chill. Not something that high stakey and whatnot, but at the same time it was still a good read overall, and so I'm done with it now. So happy to be able to say I'm done with it so I can like watch the show once it comes out. But this was the first book in the series. I will go continue on and kind of start off the second one now, hopefully get done with it soon, because we are already halfway through the week and I'd like to hopefully finish the series out before I upload this video. But again, it really depends, so let's just see how things go. I'll get back to reading now and I'll update you all in a bit once I have the next book done. So that's it for this update, and bye. Okay guys, it's now the next afternoon. I'm on my roll literally with these books because yesterday in the night I stayed up. I didn't enjoy the book necessarily, but I stayed up to binge it and finish it so I can get the series done in time for this video, which is why I'm done with the second book in the series now, so we can come speak about it and then I'll move on to the next one, because at this point all I want to do is kind of lock in and get them all read so we can see what the show is about when it releases, which is why here we are. The next one I did end up reading. This one's called The Mistake. It's the second one in Off Campus, and in this one we follow Logan, who is basically Garrett in the first book, his best friend and also his roommate. And Logan is the sort of guy who's like a charming playboy sort, so he can basically get any girl he wants. He's like very popular on campus among the women and whatnot, and you know, it should be easy for him, except along with family troubles and everything else on his plate already, he's actually currently hung up on his best friend's girlfriend, so Hannah from the first book, and he realizes that that makes him a shitty friend, which is why he's trying to like do his best to move on, because he has this like whole picture in his head that he's just not able to get over. And you know, he's kind of jealous and it's not really good for their friendship, but also he realizes that it's like against bro code and stuff. So now he figures out that okay, he'll like pursue this like almost like distraction, this freshman girl called Grace, just to like move on so he can like get his mind on other things and stuff, and you know, not risk their friendship and whatnot, his and Garrett's. Except as all of that happens, he ends up making the biggest mistake ever with Grace. She realizes that she's being used, she kind of cuts him loose, and right after that he realizes that wait a minute, he actually liked her more than just a distraction, more than just a good time. He wants something beyond that with her. He wants maybe even something more serious, except now she doesn't want anything to do with him because she knows what his true intentions were before he realized that, you know, he was wrong. And so she's kind of ignoring him. She's come back now the next day and whatnot, fully prepared to like stay away from him, kind of pursue a whole different life, because things weren't really leading up the way they should have in her freshman year. He kind of let her down, her best friend let her down, a bunch of shit happened, and so she's very much like walking with her head down away from all these people. Except now he's gonna do his hardest to kind of win her back, because it's his final year at, you know, the university, Briar U, and his future path ahead is not really determined, but now he's like fully convinced that he needs to have her in it despite what happens with hockey and everything else, because she is his everything. He's only just now realizing it, and so he's working hard to get her back. It's like second chance. And all I'll say is the mistake doesn't happen till like at least under halfway in the book, so that is something. But also this is like really quick in comparison to the first one. I feel like it's definitely shorter in terms of length, so I was able to speed through it. What I personally didn't enjoy is the fact that it's already a short book, and so thanks to that there's not a lot of page count, but I feel like too much was trying to be happening in the book, so it was very convoluted, the story. There was no specific plot because I feel like it was just all over the place. There's too much that the author was trying to incorporate in terms of like storyline, one angle from here, one from there, and it just doesn't make sense with the kind of pages we had. But also because their connection was very sped up. I feel like all these connections in the books, as far as I'm able to tell at the moment, in Elle Kennedy specifically, they start out very physical and then she tries to make it more, I guess, like serious and deep as you continue with the book. But for me personally, it just didn't work in this one, because in the first book it definitely did start off physical, but I feel like Garrett was just very sensitive towards Hannah and, you know, treating her nice and just being overall like a gentleman towards her, especially towards like the second half, and then you see the emotional connect. Here I feel like it starts off with Logan being such like a man-child the first half of the book that I didn't enjoy that personally, and then the second half it just rubbed me the wrong way. And while, you know, the author definitely tried justifying it by showing that he has issues at home and stuff, that does not really give him a reason and an excuse to like justify what he did to her in the first half of the book and then whatever, because that's just not fair in my opinion. So in my opinion, she should not have given him a chance, because this specifically is the sort of couple who won't make it beyond the book in my opinion. But also because their connection being so fast and sped up and whatnot made me just not believe in them whatsoever. So I didn't give half a shit about what was going on in the book, because honestly, I just don't care. It did not work for me as a couple, so there's that. And there's also the point that apart from a couple, they really aren't anything else. They don't have like a life beyond their relationship, so that also kind of icked me and got on my nerves, because the first book in comparison was so good, because you have Hannah doing her own separate thing with music and whatnot, and then you have Garrett with his hockey and stuff. And here, while Logan does have somewhat of a life, the girl Grace, she has like absolutely nothing. I couldn't tell you shit about her after having read a whole book in her perspective, so that says a lot, which is why I think I'm gonna give this like maybe 2.5 stars at max. I just really didn't enjoy this one. It rubbed me the wrong way. He was just cocky in like a really weird douchebaggy sort of way, so there's that. And yeah, at this point I'm not really sure if the series is really for me, because the first one was great, the second one didn't enjoy it, started like a little bit of the third one, and I don't have strong feelings on it so far, so we'll have to see, because the third one now is about Dean, and hopefully it does pick up, because I feel like I've heard that's like everyone's favorite in the series, and so far it is shaping up to be, from what I've seen of his perspective among like the other books, good. It's just, it really depends on what actually happens in a story, because I was clearly hyped up for Logan and then I was let down, as we clearly saw with this book, so I'll have to see. What I ended up doing apart from this though is also going ahead and watching the trailer for the show that comes out next week. And while I haven't read all the books, so I can't tell you which exact characters, who and whatnot, I still was able to get like a decent enough picture, and I feel like they've done like a great job with casting and whatnot, especially Hannah, because she's exactly what I pictured in my head. The other thing is though that the guy they've cast for Garrett is just not it for me, because for some reason the deal really reminds me of the Max and Hall series, the books and the show that I watched, and James in that series is who I pictured as Garrett, so it's kind of really off-putting seeing someone who's like not a blonde sort of player, someone else completely for Garrett. But I feel like I'll definitely like keep up with it once I watch the show, and it'll get okay until then, so that's just my fault. But apart from that, the rest of the casting for Logan and everyone else, the jealousy that was already shown in, that was pretty good. We got a couple of like Dean Alley crumbs, so those I'm waiting to like get to in the book now and see what happens there. But overall, yeah, good things. I'm so excited for the show, because again, I really enjoyed the first book. I can't wait to see that adapted. But now moving on to the third book, which is going to be Dean's, and I'll go start reading it. Hopefully I'll get it done by tonight, so we can also come in and speak about it. But hopefully that one turns out to be much better than this one was, because truly whatever this was, I'm just not a huge fan, and I need something much better now, because I don't want to fall in a slump now that I'm on vacation. I want something I'm actually enjoying, which is why here we are. I'm gonna go get back to it, and I'll see you all in a bit, and bye. So we're back at it with the same drill. It's now the next afternoon. I'm done with the next book that I was reading in the series, book 3, which was Dean's book, and so update time. I'm not really sure what this one's called, because frankly the audiobooks that I've been listening to, the versions, they all have the sort of cartoonish covers that were newly updated and whatnot. They don't have the old covers, thanks to which it's really hard to distinguish which one's which, considering that all of them seem to be drawn in like a similar style with similar positions, and so I'm having a hard time with that. But this one I think is called like the Score or something like that, and the one I'm reading right now is the Goal, which is the next one. But I'm getting confused. But regardless, I did finish the third one, which was Dean's book basically, and now it's update time, because then I'm gonna go back to listening to the next one and then, you know, slowly make my way through the series. But for now, to update you on Dean's book, basically for like a quick premise, this one we follow Dean, and he's basically just Logan in another font. He's very much a playboy, except the only difference is that he actually owns every second of it and he enjoys it, and so he's got that sort of reputation all around school and whatnot. Everyone knows that, you know, he's gonna be a good time regardless. They just don't know anything deeper about him. And then on the other hand, and by the way, Dean is Garrett, the first guy, and the second guy Logan, his like best friend and roommate and whatnot. But now we have Elle, who is the girl in the book, and she is Hannah, so from the first book, that girl, her roommate and best friend. And the thing is, Allie's been the sort of like complete opposite of Dean ever since like she can imagine, because she's always been a sort of like long-term relationship girl, except, you know, now they're going into their last year of college. It's gonna be already like a very bittersweet one. But then to top it all off, she, like I said, she's been in her last like on and off relationship for the past 3 years, but this time she's finally broken it off for good, because the guy wasn't really like nice to her. He was almost toxic, you can say. So now she's just feeling the weight of everything, all her chapters coming to a her clothes and it's something new to start up and whatnot, and she's kind of scared about it, which is why she figures that maybe she should go out of her comfort zone, and instead of hopping into another long-term relationship like she has done for the past like literally 7 years of her life, she'll try something new. She'll just try like a one night stand or something with who's waiting in the wings, open for it, Dean, just to like kind of move on, but also to kind of like use that as a new starting page in the next chapter of her life. Except what happens is that, like every other romance book, they realize that their chemistry is off the charts, so they want something more than just one night, and then that turns into wanting something more than just like fling or whatnot, and suddenly that they're both falling for each other, but you're not really sure how it's going to work out, and that's the plot. And this one, I will say, it's like an upgrade, a massive upgrade from the previous one, because Logan's book, I really did not enjoy it, but it's still not as good as the first one, Garrett and Hannah, because that one, again, I saw the two of those people connect. One specifically, and at this point, from how many ever Elle Kennedy books I've read and able to decide, I feel like the way she bases her stories off is that they always start on a physical connection, and then the last like 70 odd pages she's going to try to establish like a romantic sort of emotional, like deeper soulmate sort of connect. And in this book specifically, it was almost outrageous, because there's this one thing that happens, like a plot twist to one of the side characters that was completely out of left field, which she used as a plot device to kind of use these people to like connect to each other, which felt a little wrong and icky to me, because it was all okay until that, which is why all I'm going to say is, if it wasn't for that, and if they were connecting on like maybe a different level, and also it wasn't as physical as it was the first like 3/4 of the book, this definitely could have been a new favorite. But at the moment, at least, it still doesn't top the first book. I don't know what will at this point, which is why there's gonna be like another 3.5 stars, and at this point I'd like to go back and up my rating for the first book to 3.75. It's still not quite 4 stars, that one, but it's still better than all the rest I've read so far. And yeah, here we are. I still did enjoy like certain moments of it, apart from like the thing that happens at the end, because I was just shocked, because I didn't really expect what was happening then to actually come into play. But regardless of everything, if y'all want like a fun book, especially something that gives you like Chuck Bass vibes from Gossip Girl, this is great, because Dean is basically Chuck in another format, and it's been a bit since I finished that show, but I still keep missing it and whatnot, so this was like a good fix for anyone who might the same sort of feelings. And again, it was the next one in the series, so happy to have continued, so happy to have gotten some crumbs of the other couples as well, especially Garrett and Hannah, because those guys, they slayed. But yeah, now I'm gonna go head on to the final book in the series, because again, this one ends off on another like huge cliffhanger that kind of leads the opening for the next book. And while I did start like one chapter of it again in the night, I just didn't go any further and whatnot, because I was feeling sleepy. But now I'm kind of ready to see what happens, because while that trope is not really my favorite for the next one, it's actually one of the ones I hate the most. I'm ready to see what the author does about it, because it's like another character in their like little apartment and whatnot of the guys, another guy in the friend group and whatnot, so we'll have to see how that segues. And now I'm also wondering what the last book is going to be about, because I feel like all the guys we've been introduced to at this point will have been covered after the next book is over. So I don't know, I'm not trying to spoil things for myself, which is why I haven't looked up like summary or anything, but who knows, maybe we'll have like an extra character or someone like that come into play, which is why I'll get to this. Hopefully I'll get to that soon as well. I might have plans tomorrow in the evening, which is why I'm going to try to at least get to this book, the next one that I have left, and then the final one, at least half of it today, so I can like get most of my reading in before going out tomorrow, which is why let's just see how much I can do today. But those are the plans so far. At this point, I just don't have a lot of hopes for the series, so I don't think I'll be continuing the spin-off that comes along with it, Briar U, that speaks about like the other kids at the university that we've been introduced to and whatnot, which is why I think these will be my final like Elle Kennedy books that I read, which is why I know it's a bit sad, but listen, I don't really care. I'm not really interested to read more, and so I'll go get to them now. I'll see what I think about them. If they change my mind, well and good. If they don't, I already know what I'm thinking. So let me get to reading now. See you guys in a bit with my final, or I guess second last update for the second last book, and I'm getting confused now, so I'm just gonna go and bye. Okay guys, next afternoon, next book complete. It's time for an update, because that's basically the whole gist of this video at this point. This is the same routine we've been following throughout. It's been working perfectly fine, so why fix something that's not broken, which is why here we are. I did go ahead and finish out the 4th book in the series. I'm so confused with the numbers at this point. I'm losing track, because they're all seeming to like blend into this one big mush, because they all seem so similar, but I'll get that in a second. Basically, I finished the 4th one in Off Campus. This follows Tucker, and this one's called, I think, The Goal, but again, not really sure because the covers are too similar for me. But basically, all these books feel like the same story like recycled over and over again with like different tropes thrown in. And I feel like at this point all romance books are feeling that way unless they turn out to be like truly spectacular. So I'm not like faulting the author, it's just something I've been noticing the past few times and whatnot, and it's really not helping with my case of remembering what I just finished reading. But here I am anyway. I'm done with this one. And for a quick premise, basically follow Sabrina and all of the guys on the hockey team and the football team and whoever have already had experiences with her in the past. They've always labeled and described her for, you know, as like, for lack of a better word, I'm gonna say as a bitch. She isn't. You shouldn't call a woman that, obviously. Her reasoning and whatnot is very solid, but no one really likes the way she comes across as, because she's very determined, and some guys just cannot stand a strong, powerful woman. That's all I'm going to say. But for Sabrina specifically, now that you're in her perspective, because you've been teased about her in the past couple of books, and so finally getting to it, you start to understand that she's only trying to be a kick-ass like lawyer when she gets into law school and working hard for that, because she's had like a very like hard past, a very hard childhood, and then her home situation right now isn't great as well, and all she's trying to do is build like a good life for herself and for what's to come beyond, because it's not a bad thing if you're fighting to give yourself something better than you already had in the past. And you know, I think she's admirable for that. It's just some people don't really understand, and so we have Sabrina. On the other hand, the guy we're following in this book is Tucker, so the last one of Garrett's roommates in the whole thing and whatnot. And the thing with him is he's like a hockey player, obviously, but he's like the sweetest one there is in the whole bunch, because he believes in like stuff like love at first sight and all these other things the other jocks don't do. He's more like a caring sort of guy. So naturally these two cross paths. At some point Sabrina's convinced to like sort of like go have fun, go let loose for a little bit, and they end up having like a one-night stand, and you can already see where it's going at the moment. I won't spoil it for you, so if you want to skip the next 10 seconds you probably should, if you don't want to know what the trope in this book is about, because again, it shook me, but also it's kind of expected where the story is going to go and whatnot, because in this we have accidental pregnancy, and so now suddenly we have all these things going on between these two people. They have to make like a hard decision whether to decide the future course of their lives and whatnot, how they're going to be connected forever once they have their kid and whatnot. And so there's all of that, but then there's also the fact that after that they're both trying to stay like civil and whatnot, stay friends, because if they're having a baby together, and it wasn't really a mistake but also like a complicated situation and whatnot, they want to remain friends in the future because they have to co-parent, and then he wants to be involved in the kid's life and whatnot, and so they have to stay on good terms for that to be able to happen in the future long run. Except, you know, as they're hanging out and they're realizing that maybe their opposite personalities work together in a really nice way. He's like nurturing and kind and caring, and he wants to look after her more than just like a friendship sort of way, sort of co-parenting nature. They start to realize that they want to pursue something beyond, but then again it's kind of questionable because they don't want, there's more again stakes involved, but they don't want to like spoil up the kid's future before it even begins and whatnot. And so you have again romance leading up, but then this is more like a dragged out one because they're trying to really figure out what pace they stand at. And for me personally, I feel like Elle Kennedy's books, again, like I said, they feel like the same stuff over and over, but also this one specifically, she did like a very hard job of trying to convince you that Tucker is a great guy, because you see him in such like great roles, obviously looking after everyone else, trying to like do everything to look after Sabrina, who doesn't want to be looked after, with her own reasoning and whatnot. And so she's trying her best throughout this entire book to convince you that these two would make a good couple. But for me personally, there were a couple moments where I was definitely getting the ick and whatnot, because sometimes you don't have to force it, which is why this book was more like telling rather than showing, in my own personal opinion. At some point there's this one quote that happens wherein she says something, and then his response to that is that her standards are really really low, but he appreciates that. And so I don't know why, it's just the little things like that that pissed me off. And also apart from that, this entire series, obviously we've been following like college guys, so what do you expect? But at the same time, just the way they had their inner like monologues and stuff, the way they would think about women and stuff, it just sort of disgusted me, and this book didn't do any less of a job in that. So overall, maybe I'm just a skeptic, maybe romances aren't working for me these days anymore, or maybe these specific ones aren't, because I truly hated every second of it. I didn't see their connection whatsoever. Everything felt forceful and just wrong between the two of them, and everything else that came with. I'm just saying it, this was like a 2-star book for me. I didn't have like the best time, and truly just proved to me why I don't like that trope so much, because the only time I've read it and it worked and I really enjoyed that book, and the only time I gave it like 5 stars was like ridiculous by Elsie Silver, but also Elsie Silver is like in a whole class of herself, which is why here we are. Shouldn't have gone in with too many high expectations, but with this I have gone ahead and finished the series because I did realize that the next book in the series, the 5th one, it's called The Legacy. There's a reason we have all 4 of the girls on the cover, and there's a reason we've had only 4 couples we've been introduced to so far in the series, and that's because we have only 4 couples. The Legacy, the last book in it, actually is like a bunch of like short stories of each couple, so you get like extended almost like epilogues in their perspectives to see where they're at beyond in life and how things worked out and whatnot. Except the thing is, I don't really like reading bonus epilogues and stuff. I really don't care to like read about, you know, like 5 years down the line they bought a house and they got married and they had kids, because that's just the same repetition that happens in every book. And you know, if it's one of my favorite couples, I don't really mind, but these guys, maybe I would do it for Garrett and Hannah, but the rest I don't care. So at the moment at least, I really don't feel like reading it. But at the same time, in the video I said I'll read the entire series, and this is listed on Goodreads not as book 4.5 but as book 5, which is why I'm gonna see. I will go ahead and, you know, start reading it and whatnot, hopefully get it done by this evening. But the thing is, I'm not doing it of my own free volition, I'm just doing it for the video, which is why I'm not sure how the experience will be. Cross your fingers it's not such a bad time, because frankly I don't care less, but I do want to get it done for the vlog so I can like watch the series when it comes out and whatnot without worrying and wondering if something could have been and whatnot, which is why I'll go read that now. But there won't be any sort of specific new couple in that. It's just the same couples repeated over with like extra perspectives and whatnot and little short stories with them, so it won't be too much, which is why with this book we have officially finished the series. It's just that's like an addition that I will be reading perspectives, but I feel like it's more for like the hardcore fans of the series rather than people like me who just had like a mid time, which is why let's just see. Hopefully it'll go fine, who knows, but I'll get to that. Another thing is that I actually found out that there was a book between the previous book we read and then this one, so like a book 3.5, basically in Dean and Allie's perspective, and I did enjoy that couple, so I figured okay, it's like a short story, we'll pick it up. It was like 10 pages or something like that, but that too wasn't really my thing, so I'm just coming in to say that I gave that 2.5 stars. It was a bit too spicy for my liking, and again, just don't care about the couple enough to see what happens in their future, which is why I read that. Maybe I should not read The Legacy. Maybe it's a sign that I don't care to read more stories about these people, but who knows, maybe I'll just go finish the series out and then know that I've finished the entire thing without ever wondering. So I'll go read that now. I'll be done with that soon, and then that'll be the final book for this vlog, because that's the last one in the series like officially. And with that, then I'll have read every single book in every single perspective, the extra stories and whatnot, and then finally this like extended novella of a book, which is why let's just see how these final like extra epilogues almost go, and pray for me that I'm able to like finish it without actually like crashing out, because I genuinely don't like these books. I don't like the way these people think, I don't like the way they talk. This definitely feels like something that was written quite a while back, and you can like tell from the writing, and you know, not in a good way, which is why hopefully no one really gets pissed off at my own personal opinion of it, because it's just not for me at this point, as I've realized. But I'm still gonna get to reading it, and I'll still update you guys in a bit once I'm done, which is why that's it for this update. Go finish that out, finish the series finally for good, and that'll be the end of the vlog when I come in then as well. So let's get that done. See y'all in a bit once I do, and bye. So I finished reading the series. I'm done with Legacy, and in my own personal humble opinion, it was not worth it. Once I was finally done, it was just like, oh my god, war is over kind of moment, because I have suffered enough through this series. At this point, I should just learn to DNF books when I don't feel like them, because again, had the absolute worst time ever with this one specifically. I think with all the books actually at this point, because this I feel like was very unnecessary. We could have done without it, because it's gone back and ruined every couple for me. So at this point, I don't care about Garrett and Hannah, I don't care about Dean and Allie, just don't care anymore. And all I'll say is basically these are like a bunch of little novellas in each couple's perspective, showing you them still together a few years down the line now, planning more serious steps in their relationships, each of them. And you know, all I'm saying is they could use a little communication, they could use a lot of therapy, and they're all walking red flags, so maybe they shouldn't be together in the first place. And I hated every second, so I'm gonna give this 2 stars. I feel like the first story specifically was really good. It was funny, I had a good time, surprisingly, considering the fact there was Logan and I really don't like him. But the rest of them, they just went so downhill. Hated every second. It's like the author was trying to cram unnecessary drama for you to just want to pick up the book and see what happens next, and it didn't work with how small the page count was for each novella, which is why here I am coming in to say that I just didn't have a good time with this. And moving on from that, I'm done with the series now, so I don't even care. This was 2 stars, and yeah, that's it. And at this point, I'm not even sure if I want to watch the show anymore, because me personally, committing to a whole show is like a thing, and I only watch shows for books I've truly enjoyed reading. the series at this point, looking back, I don't like any of them because I feel like the final book just ruined all, consecutively, like a domino effect, but also because they just weren't really worth it for me. Like, they were alright in terms of romance sense, but I've read so many other better ones than them, which is why that is my number one put off. The other thing is that I don't want to commit to such a long thing if I'm not even enjoying it in the first place, which is why, listen, life is short. I don't know if I'll watch the series. Maybe I'll watch like one episode, and if I really like it, I'll continue watching, but otherwise, I truly don't think this one's gonna be it for me, because maybe it's just for like the people whose OG books these were, like starting to book talk and whatnot, because it's not for me. I don't have any like sentimental value. I don't really care about the characters. I don't care to see them on the screen. If it's just as bad as the books were, especially in like some aspects, I genuinely don't care to immerse myself in the world anymore, which is why, again, it's like a big 50-50 iffy moment for me, which is why I'm done with this now. And with all of that being said, I'm also done with this video. We've now reached the end of the vlog because I finished the off-campus series. At this point, I've determined also that I probably don't want to watch the show, so again, lots of things happening at the moment. But now I'm going to head out to the library so I can sit down and start editing this vlog, which is why, now that we have reached the end of this video, like, comment, share, subscribe if you guys had a good time coming along with me, and if you did, I'll see y'all now directly next week until next week's video and whatnot. Hopefully that'll be a more fun one in terms of like reading and stuff. And until then, take care, stay safe. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And sorry if y'all got disappointed with my opinions in this vlog, but they were my own personal opinions. And just take everything with a grain of salt, because if they were your favorite books, good for you. They just weren't for me, and that's not the end of the world. And with that, I'll see y'all later. And so, bye.